Good morning. It is now time for your second December weekly weather briefing. We have had a lot of cold air over the last couple of days, and we still have more to come, potentially colder than what we are in right now, and potentially snow at the end of this weekly weather briefing. Right now, temperatures are in the low to mid 30s. Keep in mind it is 11:30 a.m. in the morning right now. Temperatures won't move a whole lot more because we have clouds moving into the area that will help level off our temperatures, maybe rising 2 or 3 more degrees, but you're not going to feel that much of a difference outside because we have another system moving in. It will bring snow well north of here. If you want snow, go to Chicago and parts of the upper Midwest. But if you want rain, you'll have to stay right where you are right now in western Kentucky. Looking at this week, we have a lot of systems to monitor. The first one's moving in this afternoon and tomorrow. Like I just mentioned, snow will be heading north of here. You see it right there, hitting Chicago around tomorrow morning. Some of those areas around Chicago could see close to 7 or 8 inches of snow. I would love to be there right now to see those snowflakes flying, but we're going to be seeing some rainfall here. I can't rule out an isolated sleet pellet or flurry on the very back side of our rain. The rain will be moving out sometime Monday morning or mid morning. Models are a little mixed on that idea, but temperatures will be cooling on Monday morning at the back edge of that rain shield. If we can get the temperatures to dip close to the freezing mark, we might see an isolated flurry or sleet pellet mixed in, but temperatures will quickly rise back up on Monday afternoon to the mid to upper 40s. We have another system moving in sometime around midweek. Now, this is what the models were showing a few days ago. Well, really yesterday, we were looking at potentially some snow moving into the area Wednesday evening and then Wednesday night, and it could have dropped anywhere between 1 to 3 inches. Models after the 18Z and 0Z run last night really just dropped off with that idea, and now it's showing absolutely nothing for our area, as you see right there. Just a bit of cold air moving into the area. That will be the second reinforcing shot of cold air coming in at the end of this week. Temperatures will rise ahead of another storm system coming in next weekend. Models are all over the place with this system. For the last several days, the GFS was showing just an all rain event for our area. Now it's starting to hint at the idea of another area of low pressure forming. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see the main area of low pressure moving northeast of here. Mainly the biggest snow totals, I think, with this system will remain north of our area, but we have the potential to see another area of low pressure form, and that will be the one that we have to watch for our wintry weather. It's starting to show that rain changing over to freezing rain and sleet, and then eventually changing over to snow, and it's showing very heavy amounts of totals for our area. The GFS is showing anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of snow in parts of western Kentucky. Notice how sharp the GFS has a cutoff on snow totals. This would be for next weekend, and then that would all switch over to snow. Very cold air moving in after that system moves through the area next weekend, so we would have a lot of cold air moving in at the beginning of next week. Like I said, models are all over the place with the idea of that system, so several updates to come. Monitor updates. Please, please do not look at your apps. That is the worst thing that you can do right now. I've already looked at some of mine. They're already predicting anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snow for this system in our area next weekend, and I guarantee you that is going to change 1,000 times going into next weekend. Not actually that much, but you get the idea. There will be several updates to your apps going into next weekend, and every single update is going to have a different solution, and the outcome will not be showing on your apps. The real outcome in reality will not be on your apps the next couple of days. Really, you can't even count on them showing reality until you get within that 24-hour time frame to 48-hour time frame of the storm system if models come into agreement. Looking at the GFS parallel model, this is a new update to the Tropical Tidbits site, and it is starting to show the GFS parallel, just another run of the GFS, showing their corrections and different sorts of things like that. It has that system moving through this coming weekend, and that showing it all rain. Then we have the GFS parallel model sniffing out a few snow showers on Wednesday evening north of here. Like I said, this is probably not going to be anything. Dew points during this time frame are going to be very, very low. The GFS at one point last night was showing single-digit dew points, and that is extremely dry air. You're not going to have even a flurry falling out of the sky if that were to be the case. We'll monitor, but if we have to do an update before that system moves in midweek this week, then I will. But as it stands right now. Models were already trending to hardly anything ever since they started showing the system in the charts, and now it is showing nothing. This is what the GFS parallel model has for this coming weekend. The second storm system, it shows those two areas of low pressure. It has a bit of an area of low pressure, a bit stronger than what the control GFS model was showing, the model I just showed you a second ago. It too has about the same solution. We could potentially see wintry mix on the onset, changing over to rain as very warm air rides ahead of this area of low pressure, but we have cold air moving in between the two low pressures. That cold air will move into our area. These two low pressure systems depart from each other. We have one in southeastern Canada, the other one in southern Texas, two extremes from the north to south pole, and you have that wintry mix to snow in between, and that will be hitting our area. You can tell that it forms a third area of low pressure. Probably not going to have three different ones. If we do, they will all three be very weak, but you get the idea. It has a lot of precipitation over our area. If we have this heavy amount of freezing rain and sleet, we could be looking at a potentially major ice storm coming this weekend. If we see more cold air to work with, then we would be looking at some pretty big snow amounts. It changes over to snow once it moves out. The GFS parallel model has parts of western Kentucky picking up 7 inches of snow. Like I said, this is just like your apps. It changes every single time it updates itself, and it is going to have a different solution. So this is like an app to me. You can't believe this every time it comes out. And then it shows another storm system, potentially a winter storm coming in before Christmas. I'm not saying we're going to have a white Christmas, but the models are showing another system moving in before Christmas. We'll have to monitor that. It could potentially be a rain event. It could potentially be a winter storm. It'd be nice if it could be a winter storm. Many of you are probably hoping for a white Christmas. We're going to look at another model. This is the Canadian model and what it shows for this coming weekend. It too has rain for this weekend and snow well off to our north, with maybe a few sleet pellets. You can tell a little bit of pink on the very back edge of that rain shield on Monday morning. I think we're going to pull this out with all rain and nothing on the backside, but anything that does fall on the backside is not going to accumulate. Temperatures will be too warm at the surface. It shows a few isolated snow showers. The Canadian model has also been weakening the midweek system, so it is probably going to show hardly nothing by the time we see the 0Z run tonight of the CMC model. It also shows that cold air moving in, even whether we have a system or not. And then it also has that snow changing over to a wintry mix and then changing over to rain potentially in our south central counties such as Bowling Green. And then we see that changing back over to a wintry mix. It keeps portions of extreme western Kentucky as all wintry precipitation, and then it has some snow on the backside. The thing about the CMC model is it'll have freezing temperatures, but it won't have accumulation. So you notice that during this time frame, temperatures at the surface are going to be well below freezing. Parts of our area seeing teens, and many of us in the 20s. We're potentially going to see a very sharp cutoff in the temperature gradient. Every one of the models show a huge cutoff in temperatures going from 60 degrees to 20 degrees in a matter of 10 to 20 miles. That is how sharp the cutoff might be, because the cold front with this area of low pressure passing through our area or south of here, if this low pressure goes south of us and it remains this strong, we will be looking at a huge winter storm this weekend. If it goes north of here and it doesn't form another area of low pressure, the Canadian model doesn't form another area of low pressure. It keeps one area of low pressure, brings it much further south. The other low pressures were going well north of here, and then the secondary one moving in, and that would be the one for our wintry precipitation. Notice how it has the temperatures below freezing, but it has hardly any accumulation in our area. That's the thing about the Canadian model. It shows, well, it does very good, but it just doesn't do very good with accumulations, I don't think, in my opinion. And then it shows snow. The Canadian model has extreme different solutions from one to the next, but when it comes to the last couple of weeks, the Canadian has done very well. So we'll have to monitor that system as well on all three of these main models. Let's look at the European model. Now, what you're looking at, this is not going to be precipitation. This is the precipitation totals. So this is not what the radar is supposed to look like. This is not your futurecast radar. This is what precipitation totals will be. So it's like showing you where the rain's going to be in a way. This is you have your 32-degree line, the dark blue, and then you have your 35-degree line, which is your light blue. If you're in between and you have precipitation, more than likely you're looking at a wintry mix. If you're on the north area of that area of 32-degree line, you're mainly looking at snow, unless you have temperatures above the surface going over 32 degrees, then you would be looking at a wintry mix. It shows that system moving through this weekend. All rain for us, snow well north of here. Models are in very good agreement with the weekend system. And then we see the European trying to sniff out a couple of snowflakes for the midweek system. It also has been weakening it as well. And then the weekend system on the European this upcoming weekend shows snow and wintry mix on the onset, changing over to rain. So there is agreement in that. Very heavy rainfall totals in our area. It forms that low pressure just to our south and west, and then it moves into our area, and then it shows those two areas of low pressure. We have one that is 1,005 millibars, the other one 1,004 millibars. An okay area of low pressure, very mutual, not very strong, not very weak either, but it also changes back over to snow and wintry mix in our area. So the European also showing potentially a winter storm for our area this coming weekend as well. Now the snowfall in the European is nothing in our area, maybe a trace amount in extreme northeastern parts of western Kentucky, but it is also showing snow and a wintry mix like the Canadian model, but has no accumulation. We'll have to monitor that. This is still a week out, guys. Do not be taking this to heart. Let's look at the GEFS ensembles, just another couple runs of the GFS control, and this is what we look at to see where the agreement and the models are. If you have ensembles all showing the same thing, then you are looking at very good agreement in the models. Let's look at the weekend system and what it is showing. It is showing that we see a few light rain showers, potentially snow showers. This would be associated with a cold front. No matter what, if we have a system or not, rain or snow, dry or wet, we are going to be looking at cold air moving into the area. We're going to have to monitor the weekend system. But as we move into this coming weekend, look at how it all shows that system moving in. Every one of the ensembles have some sort of system next weekend, but look at how they're all over the place. So that means that we have no agreement in the models because they are all over the place from one ensemble to the next. You want to see agreement? Look at what they're showing for this weekend. Look at how every single one of them had that northwest to southeast oriented snow band through Chicago. That is what we talk about model agreement. But when we look at the weekend system and when we see this, we know that we just can't take this to heart. Take this with a grain of salt. But if we go out to the 16th day and we look at snowfall totals, the mean of all these snowfall totals is showing 2 to 6 inches of snow in the next 16 days in our area. We're going to have to monitor that. Looking at the next 7 days, precipitation amounts are going to be around a half inch, as you can tell, for this weekend. And then midweek, showing nothing, but then we get out to the next weekend system and we put both of this weekend and next weekend together, and we end up with over an inch of rain for most of our counties. Very much welcomed rain. The models do not do good when we have an active pattern. We're entering into an active pattern. That's why you see models all over the place, like I showed you at the beginning of this briefing. So that is just one thing. When you get into this active pattern and you have a lot of cold air to work with over the next several weeks, they just go all over the place and they don't know what to do. So we have several cold shots remaining in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's just if we can get a system and the cold air to match up at the same time, that is when we're going to be seeing those wintry-like conditions. Looking at temperatures throughout the next 10 days, temperatures will be warming into the 40s for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, but then by Wednesday, we see temperatures taking a huge plunge. That's that cold front that I'm talking to you about earlier on in the briefing. And then we see even colder temperatures for Thursday, potentially not making it out of the 20s. Like I said, this could be a colder air mass than the one that we are in currently, and we will be getting out of this air mass very soon before that next system moves in on Sunday. Next Friday looks to be looking very chilly, still temperatures in the 30s. Temperatures rising into the 40s ahead of that low pressure. Like I said, if we have that area of low pressure, that main one, for the next weekend system, this would be on the, let's see what this is showing. Next weekend, that would be the 17th on Saturday and then the 18th on Sunday. The 17th and 18th system, if we see that low pressure going well north of here, we're going to be looking at temperatures warming up ahead of that, possibly significantly, and then that next area of low pressure moving in and really lowering our temperatures. The 10-day average of blend of models is showing that we see that cold air coming in. By next Sunday, we're still looking at potentially rain in our area, changing over to that snowfall on Sunday night and Monday morning of next week. By this time next week, on next week's weekly weather briefing, we will have a lot more details on what is to come. Snowfall in the next 45 days. This is going out to January 24th, potentially over a foot in the next 45 days, showing that winter is coming and that we have a lot of cold and snow in store for the next several weeks.